Sorry that I'm not in class today, but here is my section on the current misuse of amphetamines and methamphetamines. Due to the inexpensive cost to synthesize methamphetamines in laboratories and due to the more sustainable effects of methamphetamines, in many parts of the United States, meth has become more popular than cocaine. Historically, the illicit use of methamphetamines and amphetamines have followed the same path as cocaine because the two drugs are very similar. In 2001, it was reported that 5.6% of high school seniors had used methamphetamines or amphetamines in the past month. But as of 2012, this number was down 3.1% to 2.5% of all high school seniors. Although amphetamines are typically prescribed for narcolepsy and hyperactivity in children, 1% or about 1% of all prescriptions are actually written as a form of weight loss pills. Many physicians and psychiatrists do not recommend using amphetamines as a form as a weight loss supplement. However, the FDA does approve amphetamine use for weight loss. Besides the positive effects of the dose, the high from amphetamines can cause hyperactivity, nervousness, and jittery feelings. Um, Due to these jittery feelings, many abusers of amphetamines actually will use barbiturates while taking the amphetamines because the barbiturates will mellow them down and take away these jittery feelings. Next slide, please. One common form of methamphetamine is speed. It is called speed because it causes the user to feel wired or hyped. The effects of speed are very similar to that of cocaine. However, it lasts over a much longer time and it is cheaper than cocaine. Speed is a white odorless powder that can be either injected intravenously or taken orally through a pill, through a like powder put into a pill, or snorted. Um, Due to the inexpensive cost of meth, between $10 and $20 a dose, it is often referred to as the poor man's cocaine. And the typical abuser of meth is a male blue collar worker between 26 and 34 years of age. And it's called the poor man's cocaine because, as stated before, the effects are very similar to cocaine. However, methamphetamines last longer. Although the abuser is a blue collar, not as wealthy individual, this does not mean that there aren't wealthy people that have abused meth. One of the greatest tennis players of all time, Andre Agassi, actually had a very bad meth problem during his career as a professional tennis player and failed several drug tests for methamphetamines. And he just said that he was prescribed amphetamines to help him with ADD, but in actuality, he was failing these tests because of crystal meth. The makers of meth are called cookers, and meth is typically made in large batches over an open flame. And since you're mixing together many chemicals that aren't supposed to be mixed together, the result can be fires and explosions. However, on a smaller scale, and cookers that don't use open flames can make it via shake and bake, and this is typically made in small plastic bottles just by mixing a few of the chemicals that go into methamphetamines together and shaking them up. However, this is no safer than the other form of making meth because it still can result in chemical explosions and fires. A few of the requirements a few of the chemicals that are always used in meth are ephedrine, pseudomethamphetamine, and phenylpropylamine. And these are just the chemicals that are always used in meth. There are also other chemicals that can be used in addition to these. Next slide, please. Um, some of the other chemicals and some of the reactions to the chemicals, aside from the three I just stated that are used in meth, are sodium hydroxide, ammonium, ether, acetone, and then a few more listed on the slide you see in front of you. And then some of the reactions that these chemicals can cause are skin and eye irritation, nausea, vomiting, and even death. And that's one of the reasons why meth is very dangerous, is because many of these chemicals can kill you, and rat poison is awfully often used in meth. Next slide, please. In 2006, meth was declared the number one drug problem in major U.S. counties. In hopes of reducing the meth problem of the 90s, the Methamphetamine Act of 1996 was passed, and the result was stricter penalties for creating and distributing meth, but also made the purchasing of meth chemicals like together much harder, meaning that if you were to go to a store and you were trying to buy a lot of the chemicals that are used in meth, they now track that. And one of the big chemicals used, or one of the big products that you can buy at a drugstore, are decongestants. And now many decongestants are held behind the counter at pharmacies. And although you don't need a prescription, this just limits someone from going in there and buying a high amount of decongestants. The result of this act of 1996 and just the overall harder enforcement on creating meth and creating methamphetamines is that the result or the number of labs busted has gone down about 8,000 between 2003 and 2008. However, recent methamphetamine crisis has occurred again in the past 5 years, and this has started in the American Southwest, and this is for several reasons. First off, now meth is being transported from Mexico into the U.S. because of lower labor costs in Mexico for creating meth and the higher abundance of chemicals there. And then another reason for this is now people are doing what's called smurfing, and that is when a bunch of individuals go to the store, buy only one chemical, and then they all go back to the meth lab and give the cooker all the chemicals they purchased. This is harder to track because one individual isn't going in and buying all the chemicals needed to create meth. Instead, there are many individuals buying it. Sorry that I'm not in class today, and I hope my section on the current misuse of methamphetamines was interesting and informative. Thank you.